Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive. Today, we're embarking on a pretty remarkable journey into some ancient wisdom. The insights packed in here are, well, incredibly sharp and maybe surprisingly relevant for us today. Our mission really is to unpack the powerful, kind of raw words of a shepherd named Amos. His message shook kingdoms, and honestly, it still echoes with these urgent lessons about justice, about accountability, and yeah, even a surprising glimpse of hope. So let's dig into it.
Yeah, and what's truly striking right from the start is who Amos says he is. Not a, professional prophet. He tells us himself he was a shepherd, also tended sycamore fig trees from Tekoa. Yet this source shows his words just landed with this undeniable divine authority. So in this deep dive, we'll explore what he saw concerning Israel during a pretty turbulent time reigns of King Uzziah in Judah, King Jeroboam II in Israel. And interestingly, the text notes this was all 2 years before a major earthquake. Adds a bit of drama, doesn't it?
It really does. And Amos, well, he doesn't waste any time. Launches straight in with that iconic line, "The Lord roars from Zion and thunders from Jerusalem." But interestingly, before he even gets to Israel, he lays into all the surrounding nations. What's the significance there? Why start, outside?
That's a great question. It's a critical framing device, really. It establishes this kind of universal moral standard. Amos isn't just talking to Israel here. He's showing that, look, there's a fundamental cosmic justice. All nations are accountable for basic human cruelty, for breaking trust, covenant or no covenant. And the text gets specific, brutally specific. Damascus, for example, is called out for threshing Gilead with sledges having iron teeth. Just ruthless. The consequence: fire, destruction, exile. Then you've got Gaza and Tyre, condemned for taking whole communities captive, selling them into slavery. Tyre gets an extra jab for disregarding a treaty of brotherhood, breaking trust. Edom singled out for pursuing his brother with a sword, just stifling all compassion. This unending fury. Again, fire and destruction follow. Ammon, it's shocking, accused of ripping open the pregnant women of Gilead just to grab more land. And finally, Moab, for this grotesque act of burning the bones of Edom's king as if to lime, desecration, and for each one you see this pattern. Fire, consumed fortresses, destruction, exile.
Wow, so it's not just laundry list of bad things. It's like setting up this cosmic courtroom saying everyone's subject to these basic standards of humanity. That sets a pretty high bar right away.
Exactly. And it makes the pivot when he does turn to Judah and then really powerfully to Israel even more impactful. If you connect this to the bigger picture, that shift inward is the most striking part. Judah's sins, for instance, are framed as rejecting the law of the Lord, not keeping decrees, being led astray by false gods, standard religious failings, you might say. The consequence: again, fire consuming Jerusalem's fortresses.
Okay, and then Israel, this feels like where the text really, really zooms in, because their condemnation is just so much more detailed, right? More piercing. What makes their sin stand out as uniquely bad here?
It really hits home here, yeah. Israel's sins aren't just, about forgetting God. They're fundamentally about social and economic injustice. Deep rot. The text says they sell the righteous for silver and the needy for a pair of sandals. Think about that. It's not just a metaphor. It suggests the whole legal system is corrupt. Justice is denied for the pettiest gain. They trample on the heads of the poor as upon the dust of the ground, literally grinding people down. And there's mention of profaning God's name with father and son use the same girl, just points to this profound moral decay. They even get this lying down by altars on garments taken in pledge.
Wait, so they take collateral from the poor?
Exactly. They exploit the poor for collateral, then use those very items while they're supposedly worshiping and drinking wine taken as fines in God's house. It's this shocking mix of piety and oppression.
And what's so, poignant about it is how the text then lists all the ways God had helped them. It highlights this incredible ingratitude. It's like reading out their privileged history right back at them.
Precisely. That reminder of past deliverance is, scathing. I destroyed the Amorite before them, though he was tall as the cedars and strong as the oaks. This enemy they couldn't possibly have beaten alone. I brought you up out of Egypt, led you 40 years in the desert to give you the land. A huge act of liberation, provision, and then the ultimate irony. God even raised up prophets from among your sons and Nazarites from among your young men.
Okay, remind us, Nazarites were?
Right, they were individuals who took these special vows. Dedication to God often meant temporary abstinence from wine, a real focus on spiritual purity. But despite all these divine acts, all these provisions, the text says explicitly they made the Nazarites drink wine and commanded the prophets not to prophesy.
Wow.
They actively silenced the very voices meant to guide them.
So, given that history, that privilege, and then this really deep-seated corruption,
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, why is the punishment described in such, extreme terms, like inescapable?
Yeah, the text leaves absolutely no doubt about the severity. I will crush you as a cart crushes when loaded with grain. It's not just a threat, it's this vivid picture of just utter obliteration. Nothing left. And it emphasizes nobody escapes. Doesn't matter how fast, strong, skilled you are, swift, strong, warrior, archer, fleet-footed horseman. None of them, even the bravest. They'll flee naked, stripped of everything, even dignity. It's a complete, total dismantling.
Okay, so this brings us to that really crucial point, one that's often misunderstood, I think.
Yeah.
Chapter 3 starts, "You only have I chosen of all the families of the earth, therefore I will punish you for all your sins." That therefore is just huge. It's not punishment despite being chosen, it's because of it, right? Their special relationship meant higher accountability.
Exactly. That concept of unique accountability is profound. It flips the idea of favoritism on its head. Greater privilege demands greater responsibility. It's not an excuse, it's a higher standard. And the text uses these powerful analogies to hammer home the certainty of judgment. Does a lion roar when he has no prey? Does a bird fall into a trap where no snare has been set? These questions basically argue, look, when disaster strikes, it's not random, it's deliberate. God revealed his plan to the prophets, and now he's going to execute it.
We also get that stark warning for the rich, those who hoard plunder and loot in their fortresses and do not know how to do right. The consequences: invasion, strongholds pulled down. But then amidst all that judgment, there's this strained, almost brutal image of survival. As a shepherd saves from the lion's mouth only 2 leg bones or a piece of an ear, so will the Israelites be saved. Meaning, just a tiny mangled remnant.
Pretty much. A tiny fragment, barely recognizable, salvaged from the jaws of destruction, from places like Samaria, Damascus, and even Bethel, a major center of their worship. Its altars will be destroyed, and all their fancy houses, the winter house along with the summer house, the houses adorned with ivory, all these symbols of their wealth and complacency demolished.
Then chapter 4 has that incredibly biting line aimed at the elite women. "You cows of Bashan on Mount Samaria."
Yes. You women who oppress the poor and crush the needy and say to your husbands, "Bring us some drinks."
What's fascinating is Bashan was famous for its rich pastures, its fat cattle. So the metaphor is just scathing. It paints this picture of these elite women living in decadent luxury, well-fed, completely indifferent, basically fattening themselves while crushing the needy. It really highlights that specific social injustice, that casual, self-absorbed cruelty of the elite and their fate, to be led away with hooks, fish hooks, like cattle to the slaughter. Grim.
And the text almost mocks their religious life, doesn't it? It sounds sarcastic. Go to Bethel and sin. Go to Gilgal and sin yet more. Totally sarcastic. Bring your sacrifices every morning, your tithes every 3 years. Burn leavened bread as a thank offering and brag about your free will offerings. It's like God is saying, yeah, keep up your empty shows, knock yourselves out. It means nothing to me.
It's not just criticism. God lists all the things he did try, right, to get their attention.
Exactly. He lists these escalating disasters, hardships, sent specifically to make them repent. But nothing worked. He gave them empty stomachs, lack of bread, withheld rain, causing terrible thirst, struck their gardens and vineyards with blight, mildew, locusts ate their trees, sent plagues like in Egypt, killed their young men, the stench of death in their camps. Some were even overthrown, like Sodom and Gomorrah, saved at the last second, like a burning stick snatched from the fire, a near miss that still didn't teach them.
And after each one, that chilling refrain, "Yet you have not returned to me."
Whoa.
Which leads right to that stark conclusion. "Prepare to meet your God, O Israel."
Yeah.
Then it reminds them of God's power forming mountains, creating wind, turning dawn to darkness. Like, this is who you've been ignoring.
Yeah, it sets up the next chapter, chapter 5, which opens with this really tragic lament. Fallen is virgin Israel, never to rise again. It paints this picture of just utter depletion. 1,000 soldiers reduced to 100, 100 reduced to 10. A bleak vision of their future.
But even in that despair, there's this urgent call, isn't there? A path offered. "Seek me and live. Do not seek Bethel. Do not go to Gilgal, for Gilgal will surely go into exile, and Bethel will be reduced to nothing." It's a stark choice. Fake worship versus real seeking.
It is, and you ask, well, why couldn't they make that choice? What was the core failure? The source points right back to that deep systemic corruption. You who turn justice into bitterness and cast righteousness to the ground, they hate the truth tellers, those who reprove in court, despise anyone who speaks honestly. It's a deliberate rejection of morality. Trampling the poor, forcing grain, taking bribes, denying justice, it's all there. And the final irony, they build these fancy stone mansions, plant lush vineyards, but the text says, they will not live in them or drink their wine. all their ill-gotten gains. Worthless in the end.
And the solution offered is so simple, but I guess so hard. Seek good, not evil, that you may live. Hate evil, love good, maintain justice in the courts. It just cuts right through everything else.
It really does. And then comes that chilling redefinition of the day of the Lord. See, people in Israel were apparently longing for this day. They expected, divine rescue, triumph, light. But Amos warns them, that day will be darkness, not light.
A complete reversal.
Totally, like running from a lion straight into a bear, or, leaning on a wall for safety and getting bitten by a snake hidden there. It'll be pitch dark without a ray of brightness. Just terrifying, shattering their expectations.
And then maybe the most famous lines, the ones that just scorch through history. I despise your religious feasts. I cannot stand your assemblies. Even though you bring me burnt offerings, I will not accept them. Away with the noise of your songs. I will not listen to the music of your harps. But let justice roll on like a river, righteousness like a never-failing stream. I mean, that's about as clear a statement against religious hypocrisy as you can get, right? It just strips everything bare.
Absolutely. Ritual without righteousness. It's an abomination, plain and simple. And the text then explicitly links their idolatry, how they lifted up the shrine of your king, the pedestal of your idols, the star of your God, directly to their impending exile beyond Damascus. Their fake worship leads directly to their downfall. No ambiguity.
Okay, so chapter 6 then delivers this direct, woe to you who are complacent in Zion, who feel secure on Mount Samaria. This is aimed right at the top, isn't it? The elite, the notable men. It challenges them like, look at other cities that fell. Do you really think you're immune?
Yeah, and then it paints this just vivid, almost grotesque picture of their lifestyle. Their total indifference. They're lying on beds inlaid with ivory, lounging on couches, eating choice lambs and fattened calves. Basically the best of everything. They're strumming harps, improvising music like King David, drinking wine by the bowlful, using the finest lotions, living it up. But here's the killer detail, the really damning part. They do not grieve over the ruin of Joseph.
Meaning their own people, their own nation falling apart.
Exactly. They're so wrapped up in their own luxury, their own comfort, they've lost all empathy. They don't care about the suffering of their own kin, the collapse happening around them.
And the consequence for that. That pride, that detachment.
Devastatingly clear. They will be among the first to go into exile. Your feasting and lounging will end. No more parties. The Lord says, I abhor the pride of Jacob and detest his fortresses. I will deliver up the city and everything in it. Total rejection. The severity is just undeniable. If 10 men are left in one house, they too will die. No escape, even in small numbers. Justice, which should be like that flowing river, they've turned it into poison, righteousness into bitterness, and they're boasting about their own strength, their minor military victories, but God says, nope, I will stir up a nation against you to crush you completely from north to south.
Okay, so after all that raw condemnation, Amos then gets these visions. Chapter 7 starts with locusts, then fire. What's going on there?
Well, what's notable about those first two, the locusts and the fire, is Amos's reaction. In both cases, he cries out, Sovereign Lord, forgive. How can Jacob survive? He is so small. He intercedes. And incredibly, both times the text says, the Lord relented. This will not happen, the Lord said.
So there's a moment of hope, a reprieve.
Exactly. It shows this possibility that judgment could be averted. Intercession mattered, at least initially.
But then, the plumb line vision, that feels different, more, final. What's a plumb line signify here?
Right. A plumb line, you use it in building to check if a wall is perfectly vertical true. So in the vision, God is standing by this wall, built true to plumb, holding a plumb line. But then he says, I am setting a plumb line among my people Israel. I will spare them no longer. It signifies judgment is now fixed. The standard has been applied. They've been measured and they've failed. Time's up. No more relenting. The high places, the sanctuaries will be ruined. It's decided.
And this leads straight into that fascinating showdown between Amos and Amaziah, the priest of Bethel. This is like the official religious establishment versus the outsider prophet.
It really is. And Amaziah, he's clearly threatened. He sends this message to King Jeroboam, basically accusing Amos of treason. The land cannot bear all his words, he says. Specifically quoting Amos saying, Jeroboam will die by the sword and Israel will surely go into exile. Dangerous words. Then Amaziah confronts Amos directly, tells him basically, get out, you seer, go back to Judah, earn your living prophesying there. Don't do it here. This is the king's place, the royal temple.
He's trying to shut him down, send him packing. How does Amos, this shepherd, respond to that from the head priest?
Amos's answer is just brilliant. It affirms his authority because of his background, not despite it. He says, look, I wasn't a prophet, not from a prophet family. I was a shepherd, took care of sycamore fig trees. He wasn't part of the establishment, the guilds. But the Lord, he says, took me from tending the flock and said to me, go prophesy to my people Israel. His authority is direct from God, not from any human institution. And then, bam, he delivers this really severe personal prophecy right back at Amaziah. His wife will become a prostitute, his kids killed, his land divided. He will die in exile in a pagan land. And repeats the main message, Israel will certainly go into exile. No doubt about it.
Wow. Intense. Then after that, the vision of the ripe fruit, chapter 8.
Yeah, the basket of ripe fruit. The symbolism is pretty clear. The time is ripe for my people, Israel. I will spare them no longer. Harvest time, judgment time. This leads to more descriptions of wailing dead bodies everywhere. And again, it circles back to that economic exploitation, showing how deep it runs.
Right, they're impatient for religious holidays to end so they can get back to cheating people.
Exactly. Skimping the measure, boosting the price, and cheating with dishonest scales, even buying the poor for a pair of sandals, selling even the sweepings with the wheat, selling garbage as food. It's a society where profit is everything, dignity nothing. And the consequences described are huge. The land trembling, the sun going dark at noon, feasts turning to mourning. But maybe the most profound consequence, that famine, not a famine of food or a thirst for water, but a famine of hearing the words of the Lord.
A spiritual famine.
Total spiritual desolation. People desperately searching for guidance, but finding nothing. Silence from God.
And finally, chapter 9, the vision of the Lord by the altar. This feels like the ultimate statement on judgment's reach.
It really emphasizes the inescapability. Strike the tops of the pillars so that the thresholds shake, God commands. Ruin from the top down. And then, not one will get away, none will escape. Doesn't matter if you dig down to Sheol, climb up to heaven, hide on Mount Carmel, or at the bottom of the sea. Judgment will find you. Even exile isn't safe. The sword will find them there. God's power is absolute. He touches the earth and it melts, builds his palace in the heavens.
And then comes that other surprising twist, right? That statement about universal accountability.
Yes. Are not you Israelites the same to me as the Cushites? Wow. Talk about challenging chosenness. God says he also brought the Philistines from Caphtor, the Arameans from Ker, basically saying, your Exodus story, others have similar stories. Special status doesn't mean immunity from justice. But, and this is crucial, while the sinful kingdom will be destroyed, he explicitly says, yet I will not totally destroy the house of Jacob.
So there's a distinction.
A critical distinction. Israel will be shaken as grain is shaken in a sieve. Meaning the bad stuff, the sinners, will fall through and perish. Not a pebble will reach the ground, implies the good grain remains. Only the unrepentant sinners will die. It's not total annihilation of the people, but purification.
Which leads us, finally, after all that fire and judgment, to this truly surprising end, this promise of restoration. It feels like such a shift after everything we've heard. What makes this ending so significant?
It really is the ultimate so what, isn't it? The light at the end of a very dark tunnel. It balances everything. In that day, God says, I will restore David's fallen tent. That's about restoring the kingdom, the lineage, fixing what's broken. I will repair its broken places, restore its ruins, build it as it used to be, a return to stability, maybe even glory. It even includes possessing the remnant of Edom and all the nations that bear my name, a kind of reversal of fortune, dominion over former enemies, perhaps. And the land itself will become incredibly fertile, almost supernatural abundance. The reaper will be overtaken by the plowman, new wine will drip from the mountains, just images of overflowing blessing. But the most powerful promise, the real anchor of hope here is, I will bring back my exiled people Israel. They will rebuild the ruined cities and live in them, plant vineyards, make gardens. I will plant Israel in their own land, never again to be uprooted from the land I have given them.
Never again.
Never again. It's this promise of permanent security, lasting peace, unbreakable flourishing, a final, deep hope after relentless judgment.
Wow. What an incredible deep dive that was. Into Amos's words. Just raw, unvarnished judgment for social injustice, for religious hypocrisy, national arrogance. All from a shepherd. And the source makes it so clear, doesn't it? Those standards of justice, they applied everywhere, but maybe even more intensely to those who had that special relationship with God.
Indeed. That consistency is striking. The demand for righteousness, condemning the exploitation of the vulnerable, warning that rituals mean nothing without justice. These aren't just ancient concerns, are they? They feel timeless. And yeah, those visions of wrath, the clash with Amaziah, the prophecies of famine, they're grim. but they're balanced by that truly remarkable final promise: restoration, flourishing, never being uprooted again. It's quite the journey.
It really is. And leaves us with maybe a provocative thought for today. If a shepherd's words could shake entire kingdoms back then, could define justice for centuries, what roaring from Zion, what calls for justice might we be overlooking in our own comfort, our own complacency today? Something to think about.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep getting well informed.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.